Hello and welcome to today's video. I am going to be talking about the chakra system in this 101. I say 101, but it's more like a 102 because it's probably in a little bit more depth than I intended, but it's such an exciting area that I really wanted to kind of go into it a little bit deeper. I'll give you the basics, but also a little bit more because, you can find the basics anywhere on the internet, right? So just a brief introduction. I'm Tuche or Tucci, Koçoğlu-Hobden, and I'm founder of Heart and Purpose. And I support people to connect with their hearts so that they can activate the courage within and so that they can then take purposeful or intentional steps to reveal their purpose. And I'm really excited to be here sharing this information with you. I am a certified transformative coach, as well as a Kundalini Yoga teacher and practitioner and an energy healer. Before coming into coming into contact with the chakras, when I was a student, I studied my minor in psychology, and I was introduced to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anyone who studies psychology will be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy, or you might just be aware of them anyway. So you can Google it as well to have a look at what Maslow's hierarchy of needs are. Then fast forward many years, I came into contact with the chakra system. And I was really surprised actually about the similarities between them, although one was formulated in the 1940s and the other was thousands of years ago. I think the chakras originally appeared in the Vedic texts or Vedic scripts. I don't know if Maslow was aware of the chakra system or if this is a beautiful demonstration of universal knowledge being shared through our own human Wi-Fi system or the cosmos's Wi-Fi system. So the chakras are energy centers, and they are energy centers that correspond to glands and organs within our body. In Sanskrit, chakra means disc. So you can imagine these are discs that are spinning and going up all the way from the tailbone, up your spine to the crown of your head. However, sometimes they can get sluggish and slow down. And this is often when you hear a chakra being referred to as blocked, or sometimes they can be overactive, so overly spinning, which is also another imbalance. As well as being in motion and spinning, they can also be contracting and expanding. And as chakras are team players, they will support another chakra. So if a chakra is out of balance or is overly active or underactive, another chakra will support it and overcompensate for it, which is fine, obviously, in the short term, but it's never supportive for us in the long term. So what we try and do is come into alignment with the chakras and come into harmony. So as I mentioned, there are 7 chakras, plus the aura, the 8th chakra. The first is the root, which in Sanskrit is the Muladhara. The second is the sacral Svadhisthana. And the third is the solar plexus, Manipura. The 4th is the heart, Anahata. The 5th is the throat, Vishuddha. The 6th is the 3rd eye, the Ajna. The 7th is the crown, Sahasrara. And then the 8th is the aura, also known as the energy body. As I mentioned, this is a 101, 102 guide to the chakras. So there's a huge amount of information on the internet, which you can go deeper into. I'm only going to be focusing on these 8. There are said to be 114 chakras in total, but we're going to focus on the 7 and the 8th, which are aligned with the human physical body. And there are also 7 layers in our auric field. These are called the subtle bodies or energy bodies, which each chakra corresponds to. But today I'm only going to be focusing on the 7 body chakras plus the aura. I'll also mention, just because I'm thinking about it, is that there are an additional 5 to these body chakras, including the Earth Star chakra, which connects us into Gaia, and also our soul star chakra, which connects us to the universe and to the cosmos, which brings us to a total of 13, the number of the goddess. In this video, I will also share with you, as well as the function of each chakra, the location, color, and the purpose. I'll also maybe share a little bit about which crystals are associated with them. As I mentioned, I'm a Kundalini Yoga teacher, and I blend Kundalini into the work that I do as a transformative coach. With my clients, I intuit what is out of balance or what might be overactive or deficient. Saying deficient or blocked is probably a better way than out of balance, right? So when the energy is stagnant and we want to open our centers, we want them to be open so that we can allow the energy to move freely through the chakras and through our bodies, both in the physical and the metaphysical. So we can do this through movement and asana. So by that I mean postures. And I will also be sharing with you some examples of postures that are supportive for opening and optimizing each of the chakras. Sometimes when we don't recognize a deficiency or a blocked chakra or an overactive chakra, this will happen when we're not really connected to our bodies, when we're not really connected to our inner voice. So it will come through maybe suppressing any messages that are coming through very subtly through our inner voice. This could also be through emotional releases or even physical pain. And this can result in dis-ease. So disease is merely the opposite of ease. And our body's natural state of harmony and alignment is ease, right? So our glands, our organs, and our physical bodies, all in alignment with our energy centers, our chakras, and our energy bodies, we are in alignment and in harmony and at ease, and that's our baseline. And when we are not, it is in dis-ease. So ailments are often the body's last attempt at getting our attention. And I will share a little bit maybe with one or two chakras where these deficiencies and imbalances result in dis-ease when we aren't listening. We can save ourselves a lot of trouble and time if we listen to these signs before they are made manifest in the physical. And I think I'll probably share a couple of my own personal experiences, but please remember, this is not medical advice. I'm not a medical practitioner, so please always seek the help and advice of a medical practitioner first if you have any physical ailments and challenges. So let's begin with the first three chakras. We often refer to these first two chakras as the lower triangle. They are generally represented by the more me-focused aspects of humanity, of being human, right? They are also more likely to be represented by heavier or denser emotions. I don't like calling them good or bad because emotions just are. It's just that our human conditioning has attached if it's good or bad. All that makes them bad is that they have lower frequencies assigned to them. So that these lower triangles are representative of survival and associated more with our ego and more about me than we. So the higher ones are about the we, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when I'm there. So our first chakra is the root chakra, or the Muladhara, and it represents security and survival. And the best way to describe it is like it's the I am, right? It is I am here in a human physical body. And it's all about feeling safe. Again, looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's, the survival, it's what is that baseline, that foundation. And safety is such an important part of how we interact in our world, or whether we don't interact in the world. If we don't feel safe, or if we're living in fear, we can really find it difficult to navigate this reality. This chakra really shapes how we see ourselves on this earthly plane and how we navigate ourselves around it. The location of this is right at the end of the spine between the anus and the sexual organs. It's all about the foundations of who we are and our survival, security, habits, so where we live, and self-acceptance. The glands and organs, it is associated with our organs of elimination, so the colon. The color it's associated with is red, and each chakra has a symbol as well. It's a lotus flower with a number of petals. I'm not going to share that information today, but just thought I would offer that right now. If you wanted to go and when you look and Google or when you look up the chakras, you'll notice that each chakra is represented by a symbol as well and a sound. So as I mentioned, the color is red and the element is earth. But it's the chakra that really connects us to the earth, to Mother Earth. Crystals that are associated with it are hematite, red jasper, bloodstone, smoky quartz, moss agate, obsidian, black tourmaline, and black onyx. Now, what's interesting about this chakra is that when we are in imbalance, we might notice problems in our legs, in our feet, in our rectum, tailbone, and immune system. So these tend to be signals that our root chakra, the Muladhara, is out of balance. Could also be related to male issues with the male reproductive organs and the prostate gland, but also arthritis, knee pain, sciatica, eating disorders, and constipation. So I'll give an example where sciatica or lower back pain, is deeply connected with fear around financial security and stress around money. And that links to our safety. That is our root chakra. Anxiety is also linked to it, being fearful. The other example I wanted to give you was maybe when it's overactive, things like being greedy or materialistic, wanting more, that more materialist stuff and aggressiveness. What I found interesting was during the pandemic, I noticed how people were behaving, and you probably noticed this yourselves, but do you remember when the pandemic first hit in 2020? On the news, they showed supermarkets with toilet paper just gone, right? All the shelves had been depleted of toilet paper. People went out and bought toilet rolls en masse, and people thought this was really funny. There was a lot of memes on Instagram. And yes, and I found it, it was quite amusing. What are people doing? Until I realized, it clicked for me that, oh yes, this isn't crazy at all. If you think about it, COVID, people were fearing for their safety. People were fearful. People were in survival mode. And if we look at it from the chakra and Maslow's hierarchy of needs perspective, it isn't crazy at all. Safety and survival rules our root chakra and is connected to our elimination organ. So really, there's quite a logical explanation behind it. So some exercises or poses or postures or asanas to support this chakra would be crow pose, chair pose, frog pose, root lock, so that's Mula Bandh, lying on your stomach and doing some front stretches. These are all really supportive asanas or postures to be doing to support your root chakra. So secondly, we move on to our sacral chakra, the Svadhisthana chakra. And this chakra is all about I am who I am when it's in balance. And this governs our sacral creativity. When we feel secure and comfortable in our own skin, we feel, that really lovely secureness that we feel in our own bodies. And when it's deficient, we will feel insecure, or we'll be really worried about what other people think about us, whether they approve of us, and also whether they'll reject us. Rejection is a really, really deep wound for many of us. I mean, for all of us, really, because if we think about it, in the past, our ancestors, and, you know, we know scientifically that we can now date back to 13 Jibba, so in our DNA, which is 32,766 ancestors in our DNA. And that's only as far as science can date back. So it could be even more. So we have that, we carry that in our genes, right, in our DNA. And in the past, rejection meant death. It really did. When you were excluded from your tribe, you were out on your own. And that meant it's very difficult to survive on your own. And yeah, it would often mean death. So that is still stays with us. So feelings of rejection can be very, very deep for us still. Poor boundaries are also associated with this chakra. Interestingly, the advertising and marketing industry really likes to play with this chakra. So things like FOMO is created, really plays on the sacral, that you're not good enough, or that you're not going to be approved of if you don't have this latest whatever. So that's something I thought I would also share, because I thought it was quite an interesting observation. So this is all about feeling. It's about feeling, creating, and desiring. And the location for this chakra is around the sex organs. So the organs and glands are the sex organs, the reproductive glands, our kidneys and bladder. The color of this chakra is orange, and the element is water. Crystals associated, and that can be really supportive for healing, are carnelian, tiger's eye, citrine, although citrine tends to be more for the third chakra, it can also be for the second, moonstone, orange calcite, sunstone, amber, and aragonite, and amber. Yoga poses or asanas that are really supportive for the sacral are frog pose, cobra pose, butterfly, Sat Kriya, really powerful for this one. I would highly, highly recommend Sat Kriya, cat cow, and pelvic lifts. The next chakra is the third chakra, the solar plexus. The next chakra is the third chakra, the solar plexus chakra, Manipura. Traditionally, now I'm going to break a bit of tradition here, but traditionally, the solar plexus or Manipura chakra is responsible for taking action and for being traditionally it is responsible for taking action. However, since studying the chakra system under my teacher, Guru Singh, I've slightly changed my perspective of the solar plexus chakra, and this highly resonated with me. But it is a little bit different to what other teachers have taught me before in the past, and how chakras are traditionally taught. So I invite you to make up your own mind. You could still think it's all about, taking action and doing and willing. But I believe this chakra represents embracing who we are. And it's more about connectivity, which again, traditionally is more connected to the heart chakra. But embracing who we are through how we connect to the world around us, to everything around us. And this goes back to, again, when we were back in the womb, we were connected to our mothers through our navel point, right? The umbilical cord. And that was the connection to our mother and the source of all nourishment as we grew in our mother's womb. So for me, it feels really connected to being connected, and also to digestion, to digesting not just food, but digesting life itself, digesting the present moment, digesting fully the moment that we are in, and connecting to our mothers and also those beyond the veil, to our ancestors. And we talk about often in Kundalini Yoga, we say, in yoga in general, you say namaste, nama, and ong namo. Namo is that connection, is the namo, is the I bow to you. Namaste, I bow to you. And namo, I bow to the ancestors and my teachers and guides and angels and all those who came before me. So that is really that connectivity point, it feels to me, both in this world and also the world beyond the veil. The solar plexus is also the root of our emotional body, and is where the subconscious is stored. This whole subconscious, this whole area, in fact, the abdominal area, is the most highly concentrated area of the body with glands and organs. Traditionally, it is also said to be responsible for willpower. But again, for me, that is about the heart, because the heart is split into 3 chambers: the will, courage, and hope. But we'll get into that in a little bit, because I'll be talking about the heart chakra next. We can still look at it as being around empowerment, self-empowerment, personal power, and also commitment. The location is the navel point, so the solar plexus point. The glands and organs associated, the solar plexus, the liver, the gallbladder, spleen, digestive organs, pancreas, and adrenals. The color is yellow, and the element is fire. Crystals that are really supportive are citrine, pyrite, yellow jasper, tiger's eye, yellow tourmaline, amber, agate, sunstone, and yellow quartz. I mean, there are obviously others as well. There are more. If you look on the internet, each source may say something slightly different, but I really invite you to be really intuitive about which crystal you pick for which chakra. And yoga postures or exercises that will really support this chakra is stretch pose, again Sat Kriya, bow pose, diaphragm lock, and breath of fire. And I think that's all I wanted to say. The solar plexus chakra. So, as I mentioned, the first 3 chakras are known as the lower triangle. We then come to this point, kind of this balance point. It's sort of like a horizontal line, really, if we look at it, this beneath where the diaphragm and the solar plexus cross, and it kind of forms this cross point. And this is where the heart center is. The heart center is the 4th chakra, known as Anahata, and it's the balance point of the body between the flow of the upper energies of the heavens and the lower energies of the earth. And this is where we begin to shift from the me, so those really survival linked chakras, to the we, or to thee, however you want to look at it. But we is more about the universal consciousness. So this is the chakra that represents, for me, taking action, or taking aligned action, I should say. And it's about extending who I am to those around me. So it's really extending who I am to my community. It really is a community-led chakra. And here it's where we have the courage. Cour is French for heart. Courage is the time of the heart. So that's when we are able to take the action, or, when it's easiest to take action is when we have courage. and when we are in our hearts. And when we are in our hearts and our hearts are full and full of gratitude, we are relaxed, which is the same with our lungs. When our lungs are full, they are relaxed. And the heart chakra also represents the lungs, as well as obviously the heart, and the other organs are lungs, thymus gland, which is known as the upper heart. And love and compassion are represented by Anahata, the heart chakra. And when we are relaxed and balanced, and relaxed and open, and we are receiving and giving, we are then open and awakening ourselves to spiritual awareness. You know, this is when we are really be able to step into service. Service not from that servitude way, not at all, but service from that place of wanting to support humanity, right? And receiving. Receiving is such a necessary component of a heart chakra. You know, when we receive a compliment, you know, I know I've been terrible at this in the past, whereas, you know, receiving a compliment, we make such a big deal of it, right? We can't just say, thank you. Thank you. That's all we have to say. Oh, that's a nice dress. Thank you. Oh, what, this thing? Oh, you know, I've had it for ages. No. Just thank you. And once, you know, we learn or we're able to receive fully and serve, you know, that's where serving comes as the action. It's the action or the outcome of being in this state of harmony. So the location I mentioned was the middle of the chest. So it's the heart. So it's the middle of the chest on the breastbone. And the color of this chakra is green. It can also be pink, but the element is air. And and the crystals associated with this chakra is rose quartz, rhodonite, moss agate, green jade, green aventurine, moonstone, malachite, emerald, green calcite, and peridot. And yeah, I think that's it. Yoga exercises, again, ego consolidator, baby pose, all breath work, so all pranayama exercises or techniques, and all arm exercises. So, you know, the arm exercises, you know, as we reach our arms out, the left side represents receiving and our right represents giving. Now we move into the upper triangle, and the upper triangle are the last three chakras and our aura. And this actually combines the effects of the other 7 chakras. So the aura will combine all 7 chakras and help to refine the energy. So before I talk about that, I'll take you to the 5th chakra, the throat chakra, Vishuddha. And this is about I express who I am. So this is about projecting the power of word and the power of communication, of authentic communication, not just communication for the sake of communication. Over talking and not listening is an expression of an overactive throat chakra. The throat chakra is connected with the sacral chakra. So it is really about a creative process as well. And in nature, there's something called recapitulation. And this is when nature replicates something else in nature. So examples of this would be a carrot. If you cut a carrot, you see the eye, right? There's an eye, and we know that carrots are good for eyesight. Then there's the walnuts, which looks like the brain. And then there are the lungs, again, cross-section of the lungs, and trees. And we know that trees, and we need, we breathe out carbon dioxide and the trees breathe that in, and vice versa. They breathe out oxygen and we breathe that in. So there is this recapitulation with the sacral chakra organs and the throat chakra. the vulva and the vocal cords. I will put a picture on the video as well, so you've got an image to look at as well here. So there is the vulva and the vocal cords, and also the vocal cords and the pelvic floor. And because not everyone has a vulva, right? But interestingly, we all have pelvic floors, male and female. And then there's the larynx and the uterus. Have a look at these images. This cannot be just a coincidence. As I mentioned, when there is a deficiency in the sacral chakra, this will often cause challenges in the throat. This could cause problems like ailments with the throat. I went through so many years, maybe decades of issues with my throat. I even have a scar here from having an operation on one of my glands, my submandibular gland. Nothing, thankfully, there was nothing too concerning about it. But what happens is when we are not speaking our truth or living in alignment with our truth and our authentic selves, this chakra can cause challenges. Another example where we can have deficiencies is when we feel like we're not being listened or heard, when we feel like we're being misunderstood, or when we are being secretive, or when we're not listening to others. The ears are also connected to the throat chakra. So this chakra really is about hearing and speaking truth. And whilst truth may be different for each of us, our own truth is unique to us, and we know when we are speaking our truth, when we are being our most authentic selves. And the location of the chakra is the throat, and the glands and organs are the trachea, the throat, the cervical vertebrae, which is in the neck. You've got the cervical, the C1 and C2, the atlas and axis vertebrae, the thyroid, the neck and parathyroid. And I think I'll mention here as well, something I again discovered during my 200-hour teacher training, was the parathyroid gland, when stimulated, metabolizes metals like calcium and magnesium in the body. And these really are important for our bones. And I just found it fascinating that women have a higher propensity to osteoporosis. So that's weak bone density. And I wondered, again, is this coincidence? But women having a higher propensity to osteoporosis, given that our voices have been suppressed in the patriarchy over the last couple of thousand years, does that seem like coincidence? I don't think so. Anyway, you can decide for yourselves, but for me, that was a really interesting correlation. The element for the throat chakra is ether, and the color is light blue or blue. Crystals you can use to support this chakra are amazonite, celestite, blue lace agate, turquoise aquamarine, lapis lazuli, blue calcite, blue apatite, and angelite. Yoga exercises or postures are all chanting and mantra meditation. So again, going back to the parathyroid gland, when we are chanting, we are activating the parathyroid, which is why we do a lot of mantra meditations in Kundalini Yoga. Cobra pose, it really opens that throat area. Plow pose, shoulder stand, cat-cow, neck lock. So anything that really opens up this space. We now move on to the sixth chakra, the third eye or Ajna chakra. And this is about knowing or seeing who I am. So I know or I see who I am. And it represents intuition and wisdom and identity, but identity from that place of higher consciousness. And it's really about knowing without reason, just that inner knowing, right? That, you know that feeling when you just know something without the logic, because your head brain hasn't, got involved yet, but this chakra helps us to receive data from the universal mind, or the universal Wi-Fi, however you want to look at it, and process the information without any conditioning and programming that we've been exposed to. So it's like we're receiving data, or raw data, and seeing the information for what it is. So we're not creating any assumptions or going into polarization or adding that lens or that filter that our life sometimes adds to it, right? That filter of our life from the conditioning and programming. So it's seeing everything as what it is. Kind of reminds me of that quote, William Blake quote, and also the Aldous Huxley book. When the doors of perception are cleansed, everything appears to man as it is, infinite. So the location of this chakra is between the eyebrows, so hence the third eye, and the gland and organs. It's associated with the brain and the pituitary glands. The crystals to support this chakra are solidite, celestite, amethyst, labradorite, lapis lazuli, azurite, clear quartz, fluorite, moonstone, turquoise, black tourmaline, or obsidian. And the color is indigo. Yoga postures or exercises to practice with this chakra, for this chakra, are focusing on the third eye point, Kirtan Kriya, which is another Kundalini mantra meditation, which also involves mudra and visualization, archer pose, and whistling breaths, and all exercises that have the forehead resting on the floor. We come to the seventh chakra, the crown chakra, or Sahasrara, and this is where I understand who I am, and it's all about humility and vastness. And this is really where we go in, where we talk about the we, right? We've gone from the me to the we, but without the me, we couldn't survive. We would literally be killed. Right? If we're not looking for me is about survival, the lower triangle. So it's really important to have solid foundations of the me, right? Really solid me foundations that we can then build up into the we, the higher chakras. And this is our universal antennae, and allows the data to keep flowing in without resistance or anything blocking it. And I really like this phrase. I can't remember, I think it might have been from Guru Singh. Ignorance is not lack of information. Ignorance is ignoring it. So your antennae is tuning into the information, right? Really tuned in. When we're attuned and tuned as our body, like being an instrument, and we're connected to knowing, the all-knowing, we are connected, aligned, and receiving that information like a clear channel. Our antenna is picking it all up. The gland that this is associated with is the brain and the pineal gland. So it's like the baby, right? When the baby is first born, it has that soft spot at the top, and that soft spot is like, it pulses, and that pulsation, like opening and closing, is linked to our natural pace setter, the circadian clock, the clock of life, and that circadian pulse. And it's interesting, isn't it? It's soft as we're born, and it's open, and you can see it pulsing. But as we get older, as obviously it begins to close. So as we open it metaphysically through the crown chakra, and working with the pineal gland, the pineal pulse, we're allowing that cosmic pulse to come through. And And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but this chakra represents transcendence. It's the 10th gate and known as the seat of the soul. And it's located at the crown of our heads. The glands and organ is the brain and pineal gland. The color is violet. And crystals you can work with are amethyst, clear quartz, selenite, howlite, labradorite, moonstone, fluorite, angelite, white topaz, diamond, and moldavite. And yoga postures or asanas, again, you could practice ego consolidator, Sat Kriya, or anything that involves concentrating on the tip of the nose, and also all meditation. So now we move on to the 8th and final chakra, our aura. Our aura, as I previously mentioned, is referred to the 8th chakra and is a combination of all the colors of the first 7 chakras. The combination of these colors is said to be white, and it's the energy or electromagnetic field around the physical body. And as I said, there are, and I won't go into this now, but there are 7 layers of our auric field, the subtle bodies or energy bodies, or auric bodies as it's known. And this is the filter, like the filter of lenses. The aura is responsible for taking in what we need and what we don't need, right? It takes in what we need, what's allowed in, it filters all that information, all that data that's coming in. There's a lot of data, right? We're coming into contact, with our energy fields, with people on a day-to-day basis, but also from the universal mind, not just the collective, but the universal. But we can get really, really clogged up with everything going on around us. So it's really important that we take care of our aura and that we have a strong filter, which is basically like upgrading our Wi-Fi connection and having a child's control on it. So when we are taking care of our aura and this filter that filters through information and data, when we are strengthening it, we are upgrading our Wi-Fi connection and having this children's control. So we don't need everything to come in, right? It's protective and it guards us so we've got to make sure that we are always upgrading to the latest software when it's needed. And this can be done through many postures and asanas, as well as, using sprays as well. Aura sprays are also a great way of clearing our aura. The key word for defining our aura is radiance. So we want a radiant aura, and it's the electromagnetic field that surrounds our physical body. When we have a strong aura and no leaks or kind of openings or tears in it, it really is able to protect our physical body. So the color, as I said, is white, and the crystals you can use are amethyst, crystine, smoky quartz, black tourmaline, selenite, rutilated quartz, pyrite, labradorite, and aura quartz. And yoga exercises, asanas that you can do are triangle pose, which is downward facing dog, ego consolidator, archer pose, and all arm exercises again, and all meditation. That's it for today's guide to the chakras. I hope you found it useful and informational and interesting. I'd love to hear any thoughts or any feedback that you may have on this video. Sending you so much love from my heart, or Anahata, to yours. Bye for now.